Hi there, my name's John Stevens, pastor of Zion Lutheran Church in Oregon City, Oregon, and we're part of the ELCA, and welcome to Dollar Store Children's Sermons, where we take a look at the lectionary text and we tie them to an item from the Dollar Tree. This is for the narrative lectionary, and we are looking at Luke chapter 10, and that question that gets asked, who is my neighbor? Someone comes and says, what's the greatest commandment? Or what's, the law is summed up in love the neighbor as yourself. Love the Lord your God with all your heart, with all your mind, and all your soul, and your neighbor as yourself. And Jesus says, do this and you shall live. And the guy says, okay, so who is my neighbor? Which is always a great thing when Jesus answers, let me tell you a story. And he tells a story about the Samaritan, and that story about that all of a sudden the Samaritan becomes the good neighbor, and it crosses all kinds of lines. So the question is, who is my neighbor? So the item I'm using for this is I found at the Dollar Tree. It's in the educational section where they've got books and flashcards and things like that. It is questions and answers about the planet Earth. And there's another one that is about the solar system. It's about the universe. So either one of those could work great for this, or if you have an atlas, or if you have a globe sitting around. Any of that with the focus that who is my neighbor? Everyone is your neighbor. Everyone on this globe, in this universe, is your neighbor. Jesus doesn't let us draw the lines to say this person's my neighbor and this person's not. It's always expanding the circle. Everyone is our neighbor. And so I'm using this idea about the planet Earth. In Crossroads Bible Study, Harry Went has this great thing on stewardship about, so you've got the globe. He says, so if someone from your city or someone from your town asks, where do you live? I would say, I live up on Cascade Street, because that's a street in Oregon City. If I'm in Portland and someone says, so where do you live? I'd say in Oregon City. Let's say, I don't know, I'm in a gathering of pastors in Seattle, and they say, where are you from? And I said, I'm from Oregon. When I traveled to Germany, and I was talking to someone, they said, where are you from? United States. Where in the United States? Oregon. And then the idea that each time the boundaries get a little bit bigger, things like that. And then Harry talks about when it had a quote from an astronaut that basically said when the first time they orbited the Earth, they were pointing out different things. That's where we live. That's where we live. But then all of a sudden the boundaries, those lines started disappearing in their mind, that it was all just one Earth. And I love that image that we are, the image is that we are everybody is our neighbor, and we are everybody's neighbor, and which means that we are to love and show God's compassion to everyone we meet. It's fantastic. It's one of those, where they say mind blown. Where Jesus doesn't let us get away with taking the law and saying, well, the law says this. All right. So what can I get away with? Who can I draw a line so they're on the other side? And Jesus goes, nope. Sorry about that. That's a terrible Jesus impersonation. But Jesus says, you don't get away with that because they're also your neighbor. Which, in the good news of that is that ultimately, again, shows us and shows our neighbor that God is all about erasing lines. That the separation between us and God had been taken care of, eradicated, removed, because of Jesus Christ and because of the love that God has for us. So, wonderful stuff. That's where I'm going. That's the springboard for my thinking around this children's sermon. Hope it can be a springboard for you. And as always, thanks for stopping by. And I hope you have a fantastic week.